Hey there everybody, it's AJ with Outdoors Podcast. Thanks for joining me here for another video. Now, one of the things that I think gets overlooked in backpacking and hiking, and a lot of folks that are trying to get out there on the trail for the first time, is footwear. And you can certainly go out and use your pair of Nike tennis shoes or anything that you've got lying around the house and get out there. Don't let not having the right footwear stop you from getting out there, but also understand that with the proper footwear, you very well may have a much better, more comfortable, enjoyable time on the trail. I say this stuff from experience. So I thought I would just kind of walk you through the iterations of what I've done with hiking boots, what I've liked about them, what I haven't, what they cost, and what scenarios they might be great for. I'm also going to show you a couple of pairs of camp shoes and what I'm using today for not only running, for hopefully doing some trail running, and then also into my hiking adventures. So where I started when I got into backpacking 3 or 4 years ago was I basically bought some of the best boots on the market. These are the Salomon Quest GTX4s. They're about $230 a pair, and they have been absolutely outstanding boots for me. I have had one problem where the outsole was starting, in fact, and it's doing it again, started to pull away from the midsole, and that is a problem that's really easily fixed with a little bit of shoe goo. Typically available at just about any outdoor retailer or on Amazon for, I don't know, between $8 and $10 a bottle. It'll last you forever. These are waterproof shoes with a contra grip sole. They're really tall, they are really supportive, and I think they're a really, really good boot. Why I've moved away from these has been the simple fact that they are a heavy, chunky boot that I think for every pound that you're wearing on your feet feels like 10 pounds on your back. So I have not necessarily shelved these, but they're gonna be more of kind of an around town winter boot, worn for sledding and things like that, just kind of having fun out and about during the day, just too much weight on my feet. Along the same Salomon line is their Salomon winter boot. Now these are actually surprisingly a little bit lighter than the GTX4s, at least in my hand they feel like that. But they do a really, really good job insulating from the ground all the way up to the sole of the foot, and then obviously from the top. So anything that I'm going on a trip maybe under 30 degrees, this is definitely gonna be the boot. I wore these on my Bell Mountain 0-degree trip, which if you haven't seen that, I'll link it up here. These were fantastic on that trip. I was able to put a little bit of a toe warmer down in my sock in the morning, put these on, they loosened right up, and I camped very comfortably in these over the course of a couple of days in basically 0-degree weather. These are about $120 a pair if memory serves me correctly, but I'm pretty sure I got them on sale. I don't wear them a ton, but they are really, really great. 200-gram Thinsulate and a waterproof total boot. Love these things. I'm gonna wear these for a long time. Next, I really wanted to get away from the weight of those Salomon GTX4s, so I wanted to try a different brand away from Salomon. I already had a couple of pairs, and I wanted to get something lighter and something that was lower, but still waterproof. Waterproof has always been a major concern for me. I've just always felt like you need to keep your feet dry. So I went ahead and got these Northface Hedgehogs. They're about $140. They still make the shoe. I've had these for about 3 years now. They are holding up incredibly well. I wore these on a couple of different backpacking trips of some larger substance, and I'm pretty sure I wore these on our, if memory serves me correctly, I think I wore these in some of our Yosemite trip. I could be wrong, but I'll have to go back and look at the footage and figure that out. These are great shoes. I bought them in a size 8. I wear an 8.5 normally. I've got small feet. But the issue was that I bought them a little bit too small, trying to keep my feet from sliding forwards and backwards as much as I was getting. And I think that my toes run up against the front of these too much, even with the normal insoles. I just don't wear them that much anymore, but I really do like them, and I like the look of them for like an everyday around town type of shoe. I wanna say these were around $140. The most recent iteration that I've been wearing quite a bit are the Salomon XA Pro 3Ds with the struggles that I had with the Northface shoe. Not that it's a bad shoe, it just didn't work quite well enough for me. I went back to an 8.5 in these, and a couple of reasons. A, they're relatively light for a waterproof hiking shoe. They do have their CS waterproof as well as a contra grip sole, so not Vibram like most of the Salomons. But what was really interesting to me about this particular pair was this. It's not necessarily a BOA system, but is this kind of just tensioner system that just uses this singular slide up and down to create your tension, and then it all just tucks up underneath the lace. I really thought those would be an advantage for keeping laces out of the water and being really supportive throughout the day. And for the most part, that's been true, but I will say that having to tuck that up and down, they're not super easy to use one-handed to make that tightening adjustment, where I think like a BOA on some of the other shoes that are coming out, the Merrells and Under Armours, have that advantage. So I still wear these a lot, and I do like them, but I'm getting away from them more and more, and I'm wearing them less and less. So the Salomon Pro 3Ds were, I think, about 140 bucks. So I've got a lot of money in shoes. I was running into some serious problems with running in normal Nike, Adidas kind of type of tennis shoes, and I heard that the Hoka One Ones could really help alleviate a lot of foot problems, and I heard that a lot of people just really love the way that these big giant chunky soles allow a non-traditional kind of foot forward running style to be a little bit more comfortable. I bought these, and quite frankly, they just did not work for me. I had a ton of toe numbness in these. I know guys, you know, one of the Show Brothers right now, I believe today, is running the Cincinnati Flying Pig Marathon in a pair similar to these, more of a traditional. These are the trail runners, and absolutely swears by them, loves those shoes. So not to say that they don't work for everybody. I know a ton of people that love Hokas. They just weren't a good fit for me. These were the Clifton 5s, and I got them on sale. They were a good deal, but if anybody out there wears an 8.5 and wants some low mileage Clifton 5s, let me know. I'll get rid of the little rubber tops and put the laces back in them, and we can work something out. So let me know if you want those shoes. What I've gotten to most recently to try and solve the toe numbness problems and any of the other foot issues that I've been having, invested in a pair of these Altra Lone Peak 4 trail runner shoes, and I gotta tell you, I could not be happier. I've had 0 foot problems. I've been able to run tons of miles in these, probably got 50 or 60 miles, which for me is a lot so far in these things, just in learning them on the track, and I've had 0 foot problems. I've had 0 issues. I absolutely love the way that these shoes fit. They have a wider toe box design, which gives you a lot more room to move the front part of your foot while locking everything in really nicely using their lacing system and a newly designed rear collar. The way I understand it, this used to be really big and chunky like a skater shoe, and they've really narrowed that down, which is helping a lot of people, it seems like, with their forward and back and forward movement. I have absolutely loved these shoes so much that I actually went out, and in anticipation of the spring wet season, I bought the waterproof version of the boot of this exact same shoe. These running shoes, I believe, are somewhere in the 120 range, and I've gotten a pretty good deal on those. Local retailers do some sales and things every now and then. But then also these Lone Peak 4 boots, I want to say are about $140. They are waterproof. They have the same wide toe box. They have the same midsole and outsole. I believe it's this Duratrend type material. They have attachments for gaiters, both on the back. There's an actual dedicated loop on the front, as well as some side straps for their 4-point connection gaiters. I'm excited to get those. I'm a big fan of gaiters, and having a shoe that's specifically designed to work with them, much like these are, have the same kind of connection points on the front and back. I'm really, really excited to use these out in the woods. So the Lone Peaks from Altra, if you haven't tried these on, you owe it to yourself to check them out. Lastly, camp shoes. When I get to camp, I always want to take off what I've been wearing that day and try something different, whether it be a sandal or a Croc or a boot or something that just gives me a lot more flexibility to get my feet kind of aired out and feeling back to normal. I don't care who you are and what kind of shoes you have, after 8, 10, 20 miles, your feet are going to get a little bit beat up and you're going to want a little bit of reprieve. So on the colder trips, I found this pair of Sierra Designs down boots. These were about 20 bucks in a local pre-owned equipment store that we have here in St. Louis that I really like. They've been absolutely outstanding. They've got kind of a manufactured sole on them so I can walk on the ground. I don't feel like I'm gonna puncture through them or break anything, but man, oh man, when it's under 30 degrees and you wanna get warm in your hammock and your feet are chilly after a long day, these are fantastic. There's a bunch of retailers that make them. REI sells a pair, some more cottage brands that sell them and then actually have an outsole so you can have waterproofness. I want to say one of the YouTubers out there, and I'll figure it out and link it in the description below, had their boots freeze and actually had to hike for like 1.5 miles in their down boots before they got out to get their boots thawed and things like that. So something to be thinking about. Down boots, if you're going to do those cold weather camping, absolutely a must have. And then the last thing that I kind of swear by, although I am quite frankly interested in looking at some other options, Crocs make an absolutely fantastic camp shoe. They are not waterproof, but they will not get damaged by water. They're just a single piece of rubber. They're basically impossible to break. I guess the rear strap could come off, but you'd still be okay. They protect your socks a little bit from water, which is why I like them better than a sandal, because with most sandals, you're going with the like, push the thing down between your toes. If you've got socks on, it just doesn't seem as enjoyable to me. I am interested in some of the Zero Shoe sandals that I think are pretty lightweight, although these things are, I think, a couple, 3-4 ounces a piece, and really make a great camp shoe. I typically take mine in a dry bag and just stick them in the top of my pack. That way I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have them flopping around on the back of my pack while I'm walking down the trail. But to each their own. I don't typically have to do a ton of water crossings where I have my shoes in and out, off and on the pack. So that's for each person to decide what kind of conditions you're going to get into, where you're going, what you're anticipating. I know a couple of years ago when my girlfriend and I went to Colorado, I urged her to get a pair of waterproof shoes. She pushed back. We didn't really have time. She did just fine in her trail, walking, trail running shoes, and was happy for her standards. That's what she likes. She wants a more comfortable, more aired out shoe, and it was my mistake for trying to make her do something that she didn't really want to do. And lo and behold, I've kind of evolved towards a less waterproof shoe, maybe going with this in the future. So to each their own, but the biggest thing is know where you're going, know what you're walking into, know how many stream crossings or how much water you're going to be dealing with, what the heat's going to be, all those factors. But the most important thing that I cannot urge enough is find something that fits you. Find something that fits your foot, whether you've got a high arch or a low foot, or a low arch, flat-footed, wide feet, narrow feet. Understand what your feet are and then start trying to shop for that versus the brand or the way they look, what you've heard online, things like this. Go to a local retailer. I can't urge you enough, if you have the option to go to a local retailer, try as many shoes on as you can of brands that you never thought you'd buy. You might find something that you never thought about before was really, really good fit for you. Take your time in the store. Don't feel rushed. Don't feel like they got to get you out of there. You got to make your decision quickly. Walk around the store. Take an hour, longer than that if you want. Good retailers will understand and want you to do exactly that. And then take them home, wear them in the house. Don't take them out on the trail right away. Get used to them before you have to make that final commitment. As you've heard, some of these boots are north of $200. A lot of the shoes are north of $100. It's not an inexpensive decision for most people out there. So make sure that you're finding the right shoe before you go beat them up on the trail and can't return them. And lastly, the probably single most important thing I can stress, do not buy a brand new pair of shoes the day or the week before a big, lofty backpacking trip. Don't go out on a brand new pair of shoes that you don't know, that you're inexperienced with, that you haven't found or broken in. It can make for an extremely miserable scenario on the trail. And also, if you do start to get hot spots, if you do start to get blisters or pain points, do not wait till your day is over to address those. Stop immediately, deal with them with some moleskin or with some band-aids, whatever you've got on you. Try and treat and manage any foot problems that you're having before they get worse. I just did a 30-mile trip on the Berryman Trail, linked right here if you haven't seen that one, and I ran into some major problems by not wearing a sock liner with my bigger Salomon boots, and I got an unbelievably uncomfortable blister that ended up lasting for almost a month and limited some of the walking that I was able to do on a vacation in San Diego. So always be thinking about your feet. It's really, really important when you're out there backpacking, but most importantly, find something that fits you and something that's comfortable. Hopefully this was helpful. If you did find it interesting or enjoyable, don't be afraid to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks so much for joining me on another video at Outdoors Podcast. We'll see you next time.